In today's video, I wanted to follow up about my making friends with your bad feelings or your intolerable feelings video. In particular, I wanted to talk about 4 things very quickly. Number 1, your feelings are not the same as how you react or how you respond to those feelings, and I'll cover that in more detail. Number 2, the thoughts that cause those feelings that you're having are not the same as the feelings you're having. Number 3, becoming emotionally uncomfortable can lead to better, healthier relationships with your emotions. And finally, your feelings are not always appropriate, and you can decide, you can check in and decide if they are. If you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my content. So the first thing I want to talk about is that your emotions, your feelings, are not the same as how you respond to those feelings. A shout out to a certain Belgian who commented on my last video about making friends with your feelings, and this person raised the very important point that it's not okay for people to be angry in all cases. And that's why I want to bring the distinction that feeling angry and how you behave when you're angry are so different. For example, if I feel angry because I read a news article about someone sabotaging or vandalizing a school building, I might get angry. But if I go out and do vigilante justice and try to find the culprit and try to hurt them, then that's the behavior while angry that is very suspect. So what I'm saying is feeling angry is perfectly fine, but if you are a person who, when you feel angry, you do bad things, then that behavior is what needs to be addressed. Not just the feelings of anger, but how you are responding to those feelings of anger. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the thoughts that you have that cause you to feel certain feelings. I'm not saying make friends with those thoughts. If anything, quite the opposite. If you have thoughts that are causing you to feel, let's say, anxiety. So I'll come up with an example. Let's say that you have a thought, you kind of worry if everyone hates you. So you kind of think, oh, my friends just pretend to like me, but behind my back they really hate me. Those are thoughts you're having. And then when you have those types of thoughts, maybe you feel anxious. And if you have those thoughts all the time, then you're going to feel anxious all the time. And I'm not saying make friends with those thoughts. If anything, those thoughts are probably not very accurate and they're not helping you. And if you're in a constant state of anxiety, then you are going to release cortisol, and it's not a healthy way of being. In fact, that brings me to my third point, which is how to become a more emotionally healthy person. I want to backtrack for a second and say that this is coming from a book called The Power of Full Engagement, and they help professional athletes and CEOs of companies and people in high-stress jobs. They're trying to help them become better performers. And in this book, they talk about how you allow yourself to become uncomfortable with an emotion in order to have a healthier relationship to that emotion. So let me just backtrack really quickly. The Power of Full Engagement, they say that when you work out at the gym or when you're playing your sport, you're actually tearing your muscles down a little bit. So you're not building muscle at the gym. What you're doing is you're tearing your muscle down, and then when you rest and recover, that's when your muscle builds. So if you hit the gym too much and you're just working out all the time, you're tearing your muscle down, and it's not healthy because you're not allowing it to recover. If you're only resting and you're never tearing your muscle down, then your muscles aren't building. So you need this balance between tearing your muscles down at the gym, working out, and then resting and allowing them to build up. Too much rest is not healthy physically, and too much tearing your muscles down, through working out or playing sports or just being active, too much of that is also not healthy. And so they suggest for best performance, you need to work out and recover, and work out and recover. And they say that you need this mentality also extends to mental health and emotional health. And so in the case of mental health, they say you want to make yourself uncomfortable by thinking about things a lot, but you also need to recover. So when you're in college, you're problem solving and you're trying to figure out problems depending on what you do in college. but you also need, they suggest, time to recover from that. So sleep or just some activities that allow you to turn your mind off. So it's not just study all the time, it's study and recover. And emotional health, they recommend, is the same thing. You do want to allow yourself to feel all your feelings and feel them deeply and allow yourself to recover. So if you're feeling anxious all the time, I'm not saying become friends with that. That's not a healthy emotional state to be in all the time. What I am saying is when you do feel anxious, it's okay to allow yourself to feel and be uncomfortable, and then also time to recover from that. And I wanted to come back to point number 2, which is the thoughts that cause the feeling. You can let those go in this project. So let's say, again, I'll bring that example back. Let's say you have this thought in your mind that, oh, my friends don't really like me and I think they talk behind my back. So that's a thought. That's an idea you're having. So then let's say you think that and you realize, oh, I'm feeling really anxious. What I'm recommending is go ahead and let those thoughts go for a second. They've done their job. They're causing you to feel anxious. Now, without thinking about them anymore, you can tune into, oh, what's it mean when I say I'm anxious? What's happening with my body? My hands are kind of tingly. I feel like hunched over. My stomach's queasy. You can think about these things and tune into that. And you'll start realizing, oh, this is okay. It's okay to feel this way. It's uncomfortable. I don't like feeling hunched. I don't like feeling like I'm clenching up or something. So it's uncomfortable, but it's safe. There's nothing wrong with it. And now that you've dropped the idea and you allow yourself to feel, chances are you will only feel that way for a couple minutes if you're truly able to drop the thoughts. And so I'm not saying become friends with those thoughts that are making you feel anxious. I'm very much saying become friends with the feeling that you have once you feel that way. And don't just become friends so that you only feel that. It is a balance of, okay, I'm allowing myself to feel anxious today, but then I'm also doing things that make me not feel anxious. Or loneliness is another example. Maybe you have a thought like, oh, I don't have that many friends right now. And so you start to feel lonely. Let yourself feel that. So forget the thoughts that you don't have any friends. Now you've got that feeling. Find what loneliness means to you. When I feel lonely, I feel a little small. I feel a little cold. My heart has this weird quality to it where it kind of feels closed off. And to me, that's, it's just a feeling. And then allow yourself to stop feeling lonely. So what's something that makes you not feel lonely? Maybe going and seeing a friend. So I'm not suggesting, oh, every time I feel lonely, I need to immediately interrupt and go see a friend. Quite the opposite. I'm saying, oh, I feel lonely. I'm going to let myself be with this feeling. I'm going to allow myself, feeling lonely is uncomfortable. I'm going to allow myself to be uncomfortable and be with this feeling. And then to recover from that, I need to rest and do something that makes me not feel lonely. For what it's worth, I personally find that loneliness is a precursor to pushing me to going out and discovering new friends. And so for me, loneliness is very uncomfortable, and it's something that drives me to go find new companionship or a bigger community. And so if I didn't feel loneliness, maybe I wouldn't have as many friends as I do. If I didn't feel loneliness, maybe I wouldn't put myself out there and find community. So I quite like loneliness. And the fourth thing I wanted to come back to also comes from a book called Getting the Love You Want. And in this book, the author suggests that we subconsciously put ourselves in positions to experience the feelings we have the worst relationships with. So perhaps you hate to feel criticized. You just hate it. Then you are subconsciously, according to this book, your subconscious is going to be drawn to situations where you feel criticized. So maybe you'll date someone who's highly critical of you. And they're suggesting that you actually are doing this so that you can start to create a healthier relationship with your feeling. So I don't recommend going out and dating someone who is critical of you. I'm saying maybe if you keep dating people who are critical of you and you hate that feeling of being criticized or you hate to feel criticized, then the getting the love you want is suggesting actually that's you subconsciously trying to create a healthier relationship. And the great thing is, when you start to have a healthier relationship with that feeling, then maybe you don't need to find someone who makes you feel criticized as much, because you don't need to trigger that feeling as much. Oh, and the final thing I was going to say is that your feelings are not always appropriate, and you get to decide that. For example, you might feel criticized because someone says, those shoes look comfortable, and maybe you think that's a criticism because they're saying, oh, those are comfortable shoes, but they don't look good. But you've added that story, and so you're feeling criticized. But it's perfectly possible that that person just meant those shoes are comfortable. And so you're adding this incorrect story that makes you feel criticized. And so then that is something worth visiting. Am I feeling this way because of the world around me, or am I feeling this way because I'm really desperate to feel this way, and I'm using things around me to force myself to feel things that I claim that I hate feeling, but perhaps I'm addicted to feeling these things. Just because something is a bad feeling doesn't mean you're not addicted to feeling it. So someone who hates to feel criticized might find all these ways to feel criticized. And yeah, it sounds a little bit odd to say that you're addicted to that feeling, but if you keep finding ways to feel criticized and you hate feeling criticized, maybe visit, hey, are people truly criticizing you, or are you addicted to that feeling? As bad as it is for you, are you addicted to feeling it? And so you're finding all these incorrect ways to feel criticized, where people aren't actually criticizing you, but because you feel criticized, you think that they actually are. This is all heady stuff, and I could see that it's tough to cover in 2 videos, so I still feel like I've just barely scratched the surface. Again, any comments you have are really helpful for me, because it helps me understand what are the kinds of things people are getting out of my videos, what are the confusing things, and maybe what can I add later. Thanks very much.